Welcome to DM the PM. On the day you're watching this, it's a special day. It's my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And because it's a special day, it's a special episode. So I'm here with one of my best friends in the world. We started together our careers at Tesco on the grad scheme. And as T, say hi.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Nice to be here.
And in today's episode, we'll be covering, it's going to be a different episode. It's going to be more of a chat. We're going to get to know a bit more about T's career. We're going to talk about tech, and we're going to talk about Agile. Start with, tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'll keep it succinct. So I'm T, and I am somebody who, as you may can tell from my accent, not from London as a lot of people tend to be on LinkedIn, but I am originally born and bred in the Midlands. In Birmingham, had a keen interest in technology, and I decided to pursue that in my career in many different avenues. So that's me at a high level. I enjoy football, I enjoy tech, I enjoy traveling, and yeah, that's me.
Great, nice. We do have a lot of things in common, especially on the traveling side. What would your ideal day look like?
Really, I would say a day where I've had really great sleep. Good start to the day. Sleep is so vital to the way how I feel, the way how my brain functions. So a day where I've had a great night's sleep in the first place, and then a day where once I've woken up, had a big breakfast, most important meal of the day, healthy breakfast, and then I've been very productive in the day in terms of work, in terms of my goals for that day, but then also a day where I have actually focused not only on my work goals, but also my personal goals as well. So I like to have a balance of where I've been able to see, always balance a day where I've been able to do my work goals, but also focus on my own physical and mental health as well at the same time. So for me, a perfect day is where I've had a balance of every single aspect that I care about in the day. I don't want to overwork myself. I don't want to over exercise or overeat or over anything. So yeah, the theme for me in my life is balance.
And you mentioned obviously sleep is such a vital part. What are other elements that you find are really important to you?
Yeah. So not only sleep, but I think I touched on it a little bit there. The physical, mental health aspect of things and physical health is very important. So what I like to do is focus on self-care as well. So, take some time in the day to go for a walk, take some time in the day maybe to go to a spa and get a massage, or anything along those lines essentially. So I think sleep, self-care, very important to kind of just having a great day or a great week or a great month or a great year.
That's a really good point. I think, self-care is definitely a concept that I think with COVID, I started really thinking about it. I think one thing that I changed over time is the idea that, and I don't know if you agree, I would like to get your thoughts on this, like self-care within the work time. Because I always felt like self-care is before, after work, before 9, after 5. So I don't know, because you're coming back to balance.
Yeah.
What's your take on self-care and work?
That is a very, very good point, because that's something I focus on very heavily. And obviously as an Agile coach as well, I coach that in the people that I speak to at work to focus on yourself as well. So when you're at your best self, you can actually perform the best and deliver your best work. So essentially, the way how I think about self-care in the work, for example, say you have a bunch of meetings in one day, and that day you're just not feeling great. You're not feeling at your best self. You can push back. You can say no. Say, let me move that meeting to another day, or let me just decline it entirely because I don't think I'm relevant or needed for this particular meeting. So that's what I call a self-care in the workplace. Don't feel forced that you have to kind of push yourself and burn yourself out for anything. Otherwise, you're not going to perform, essentially. So yeah, be able to push back and say no. But I know that can be quite tough sometimes in certain cultures and environments as well, depending on what you have in your workplace. But that's what I do. I go into companies and build that great culture.
Yeah, because I was about to say, it's like I'm now imagining, because I think burnout and lack of self-care, obviously you're an Agile coach, so you work with engineers and product managers and delivery people as well. So
Yeah.
you are exposed to a mix of people. But for product,
Yeah.
I think I see a lot of people burning out.
Yeah.
But I'm imagining exactly what you said. Even, I don't know if I'll cut this later, the companies we worked in, imagine going in and being like, I can't make that meeting because I'm not feeling very, I feel like maybe the ecosystem is a real thing to be able to give you that space to say those things. I feel like, maybe people want to do it, but don't feel comfortable in doing it.
And that is something that happens often. People don't feel comfortable because they're worried about the backlash from the manager potentially, etc. So this is why in my coaching career, I don't just coach the people on the ground, as you mentioned, the developers, the software engineers. I also coach at the level of directors, the heads of, the CEOs, the CTOs. I coach at all those levels. So that environment and culture is built from bottom up or top down, etc. And everybody's on the same page, and everybody will understand and care about everyone's health and mental health.
I definitely want to understand a bit more about it, but I realize that people listening to this, they don't know you're an Agile coach. So do you want to say a bit more about what you actually do now?
Yeah, well, I do a number of things, but my day-to-day is an Agile coach. And I guess I can give you a little bit of a background on how I got into that as well.
Yes, please.
So essentially, from a very, very young age, I've always been really interested in anything tech related. And I know Agile coaching is not specifically for tech, but I've just always wanted to kind of be in a tech space. And a lot of Agile coaching does occur within the tech space, even though it can occur in other spaces too. But literally from probably age 4, age 5, I recall using a computer in primary school, and always said this is what I want to do in future. Fast forward a little bit later, I've done a tech degree, or to be exact, a Bachelor of Science in ICT. Smashed that. Got a first class, by the way, and and essentially found a graduate job working for one of the world's largest organizations.
Met me.
And where I met Diana as well. And that was a technology graduate scheme, which allowed me to try basically every single role within the tech space. And then the one which really kind of aligned with my personal values and my skill set was the Scrum roles, because I felt like it was probably one of the only roles in tech which focuses purely on people and not just delivery. And I care a lot about people. So I started doing Scrum Mastering for a few years, and then eventually I thought, let me progress into coaching, because I enjoy talking to people and getting the best out of them. So moved into coaching, and that's what I do now. I'm now a senior Agile coach. Obviously have a few people that work with me, and it's very rewarding in terms of helping people to get better and improve in their ways of working.
That's such a good point. I now that you say it, makes sense.
Yeah.
But I didn't think about the fact that out of the whole ecosystem and everyone's focus in terms of their roles, the Scrum Master, like now it kind of like expanded into, or you can go into Agile coaching, is the role that focuses on people. Because, and this is a good point, because I know, I've worked with different Agile coaches, and I can definitely tell you they will not focus on people. You can easily focus on process, and they're like process driven. But it was interesting that from early on, when you were exposed to it, you were like, actually, this is about people.
Yeah, exactly. And you are right about that. There are definitely different types of Agile coaches in the industry, and I don't judge any of them, each to their own. But me personally, obviously, as a coach, you can decide what angle you want to take. And I definitely prefer to take the people angle, because people need someone to have their back sometimes, as opposed to being just a resource on a spreadsheet that can be easily replaced. People like to feel loved and cared about and be referred to as a human as opposed to a resource. And I find that kind of brings the best out of people, which helps them to deliver better for the company and against their goals, but also they get to enjoy their job, enjoy their role as well, and feel some sort of satisfaction and intrinsic motivation towards what they're doing. So
wow. And give me examples of the activities or things you do with your team to
Yeah.
to get them to that?
There's so many ways to skin a cat, as the saying goes, but it's all case by case dependent. So,
Okay.
for example, it can be one-on-one coaching, discussions, just asking really important, deep questions to get them to think about, what they're actually good at, what they can, improve at. But also sometimes I'll do some mentoring, for example, or I will actually share my own ideas and advice and my own experiences. Just depends on what's needed. But as a collective, as a group, I also run certain things which I call team time. I don't know if people do this anywhere else, but I like to do something called team time, which is 30 minutes every week where the team gets together, and the meeting is nothing to do with work. It's purely just based on playing a game together, talking about their lives, or two truths, one lie, anything just to get the team to interact and get to know each other as human beings without thinking about work. And I find that just brings down all the walls and the barriers in teams, and people feel like they're a collective unit and a family, and it always starts to bring the best out of people when they feel like, yeah, this is a family. I know that you have 2 kids. I know you have a dog at home. All that sort of things. It kind of helps them to feel connected and feel like, yeah, a human, a person. So very important.
That's a really good point, because and obviously not a lot of companies have agile coaches. Obviously they have teams, and then they have a trio. So have the product manager, engineer, and product designer that will lead the team, because it makes sense, because you have the things that you need to deliver. But I definitely, as a product manager, always felt there's a gap, because you have to build who builds the culture, and 3 people can contribute towards it.
Yeah.
But it's always not done properly, and the good product managers I know, they take on a lot of that role, and I definitely took that role in the past. But what you're saying about, if I think back around the best teams I worked with, and the best teams I worked with, it's not about the money we made. It's about, for me, it's about how quickly we solved problems. When you're given a complex problem, how quickly do you work with each other?
Yeah.
So you know your limits, and you challenge each other, and
Exactly.
you get to high quality solutions. But I think I couldn't have the best teams I've done that with. It was because we had a lot of, I just call it random chat, to be honest.
Yeah.
I should probably schedule it in, because I just use every time, and they just think I just waste time. But I'm not wasting time. Every time I'm chatting to people, it's getting to get them to open up.
Exactly.
But it's interesting that you have I've never seen anyone have not a process, but a regular cadence of kind of structure around this. That's really cool.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, it's something that I've thought about, and I do it at every company I work at, and it always has the same results, always very, very successful. Of course, you're going to get some personalities who will complain, like, this is scheduled fun. I don't want scheduled fun. It's not spontaneous, it's not authentic. But at the end of the day, once you kind of convince them and influence them to try it, they actually end up loving it and enjoying it themselves as well, and getting really into it and competitive, etc. So, and then that way you get to find out how your teammates tick, and what makes them, better, so you can help each other. Essentially, you end up almost, as a coach, allowing your coachees to coach each other as well. So you kind of make yourself redundant in some cases, which is part of the job.
Well, the way you seeing it, again, I like your perspective on this, because making yourself redundant, I definitely met agile coaches that they didn't want to do that, because they were like, no, if I'm not here to run this meeting, nothing is going to happen. So it's a fresh perspective, and I think it's a lot healthier. I think it's great.
Yeah. Honestly, if there's more teas in the world, we'll be in a better place. I'm joking.
Well, definitely. There'll be more balance, that's for sure.
Definitely more balance, for sure. Definitely more balance. I love balance.
Okay. That's a bit about and the other thing that you mentioned when you were doing your intro, was how early you knew what your passion was. You were like, yeah, saw a computer, I knew this is it. I'm going to work on this for the rest of my life. If I get to work on this, is a successful life. I mean, that's impressive that you're still sticking to that. How are you happy with it? Are you now thinking about what's this HT thinking, if I keep doing this until for the next 10 years, I'll be really happy?
Yeah. Good question, and thanks for that as well. Yeah, everybody that I do tell that they're always very surprised and amazed that I knew exactly what I wanted to do from a young age 4 or 5. Most people they're just unsure until in their 20s, 30s sometimes. So yeah, I'm quite blessed in that way that I was able to kind of know exactly what I wanted to do, and I had a very supportive household as well. My dad would actually buy me parts and computer parts to actually build my own computers and everything. So he would actually help, that environment as well, and to help me to get into it more and more. But in terms of, I'm happy with where I'm at now. Yes, I would say I'm quite pleased and happy to where I'm at now. And in terms of, and I know not everybody's happy in their job or in their role or in their career. And I'm very hard on myself. I always want to push to the next level. I always want to do better. I'm always thinking about kind of what's next and, how can I grow and improve. But at the same time, because I'm a coach and I teach this to the people that I coach, I try and drink my own sauce, as they say. And I also like to pause sometimes and celebrate my own success and look at where I am now and where I came from and actually be like, you know what? I'm okay. I'm growing. I'm learning. I'm on the journey. I'm on the road. I'm still in the car. The car hasn't broken down. So, and I know in my mind what plans I have next. I know where to go next, and I know I'm definitely on the way to it. So yeah, I know for certain I would not be doing this for my whole entire life in terms of agile coaching, but I would definitely be in tech for my whole life because yeah, I love tech for sure.
I think it's really good to have that vision, and I think
Yeah.
now that when you're a coach and you have a system you're taking people through that is, not necessarily tested, but challenging questions and really making them think differently, you tend to be quite hard on yourself because you're like, but I teach others to do this. I should definitely do it myself.
Exactly.
So I can definitely, and I resonate now that I'm a management coach. I resonate with that.
Yep.
But you can end up being less kind to yourself.
This is true. It is.
Do you have a way to get around that?
I do understand, yeah, because obviously, as I mentioned, yeah, I am in the world of kind of, yes, I'm an agile coach, but I do, obviously run a startup business as well. So obviously, being in the wide world of startup and kind of being on your own, you could in some cases, because you don't have a massive, company or team to support you. Yes, you're right. You can be extra hard on yourself because you really want to see something you're supporting and growing to actually become something super huge and special. So you can be extra hard on yourself and kind of put yourself down maybe a bit too much when things may not go exactly your way. But in business, there's always gonna be ups and downs and smiles and frowns. So I try to stay strong, keep to the vision, keep to my goals, and yeah, keep it moving. Which is why I believe, so far anyway, fingers crossed, yeah, things are going in the right way, not only in my personal career, but also in my startup business as well.
Yeah, you're right. Things change so much. And I guess I wanted to kind of close off the tech side. I wanted to, because you're very passionate. You try loads of things, as you said.
Yep.
And you know a lot of trends and you're keeping, on with the news and so on.
Yep.
What are the what are you most excited about, like big tech trends in the next 10 years?
Good question. And you know what? I feel like this is definitely on trend right now. And I don't actually like being too on trend. I like being different and unique. But I'm gonna use this answer because I genuinely believe in this. But I believe AI is gonna play a very huge part in our lives. And I know people think that it's a new technology, etc. But it's been around for a while, But with the current advancements in Gen AI and machine learning, etc., I believe that we are in a place now where this is probably the most innovative piece of technology growth that I've seen in a long while. And I think AI is going to play a huge part in every aspect of our life over the next 10 years and in the next 10 years. The real question is it going to be good or is it going to be very dangerous and negative? That's the question. Or are we going to have both, a balance of both, bad and good? That's the real question.
Now that the way you said that really made me think. So when you're saying, is AI going to be good or bad, it sounds like, and I think a lot of people in the news are thinking about it as like another, like a third entity. So like or a second entity. It's like it's us, and then it's like something else, and then what is this something else going to be?
Mm-hmm.
But and maybe in the next 10 years it's going to like get smarter, whatever, have its own opinions.
Mm-hmm.
But for a very long time, it's going to be humans using it. So I always challenge back and be like, well, it's depending on how you use it, isn't it? We decide how we use this. We use it for good or we use it for bad. So I think it's more a representation of humans.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
humans have every single scale on the spectrum. So if humans are using it, there's going to be humans that are going to use it for bad, humans that are going to use it for good. Fraud, all of this stuff is going to probably increase if there's not some sort of control or regulations on it. And as people probably seen in the news recently, Elon Musk has recreated the movie I, Robot and has created exactly the same robots and cars with a sofa inside the car and no steering wheel. Crazy. So people are probably scarred by that movie a little bit because we've seen what happened in that movie and the robots look exactly the same. Exactly the same. So yeah.
I remember that movie. I liked the movie. Again, the robots were, some were good, some were bad. They were just the same kind of similar balance. And the fraud and everything else is like, well, that was already here. You know, they're just finding new means of, as things advance, you have new ways to, get access to it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think with AI, it makes fraud more believable. So more difficult to detect, which is the scary part. Especially when you can actually fake people's voice. Dangerous. Imagine what you can do with that. But yeah, hopefully things don't go in a dark way. Even though people will always find ways to make it dark, but there is a lot of good in AI as well. A lot of good. I know a lot of people right now, their entire job is ran through ChatGPT. They don't actually know what they're doing. They're just faking it on ChatGPT. So it's helping a lot of people make money without knowing what they're doing, but using AI to pretend to know what they're doing. So yeah, shout out to you people.
Well, it's kind of like, when web came about, and everyone was like, yeah, I can sell anything. So then it just went off and just put everything on it. They're like, new tag, let's use it in all these different ways. There wasn't a pricing model. There wasn't anything that really made sense. And then they had to create a lot of pricing models. So if you think about even like social media, it all got created afterwards. They're like, oh, we can monetize people's attention. Great.
Yeah.
There's like a new way. So I think but I'm very excited to be part of it this time. Because now we're at the age where, especially as like have some skills already, understand it, and then now you can actually be a part of the change.
Yeah.
So you won't just see it go by and be like, oh, look, all this stuff happening past me. You can actually get in and be like, okay, I want to contribute. I want to steer this.
That's actually a very good point. In fact, that reminds me of a post I saw, I think today actually on LinkedIn, where I feel like our age group, our generation, which people probably don't know out there, but I'm not going to say, but our generation age group are probably the last or only age group where we actually was around before like the big advancement in tech. But we saw like the internet coming into the fray quite big. And then we know how to kind of usually, like me, I guess myself, build computers, etc. Whereas the people before us, they don't really know how to use tech. We have to kind of teach them. And the people after us, they use tech, they're consumers, but they don't know how to actually, build it or configure it. If that makes sense. So we're the only generation that knows how to consume it and configure it. And I kind of agreed with that post, which was very, very interesting, to be fair.
Well, maybe sometimes is recognizing the strengths you have and using the things that, your experience to be like, actually, what is unique about us as a generation? How do we? And I think it's hard to get out of your own mind to be like, oh, actually we do have more power, or we can get more involved, or we can shape it a lot more than you think. But everything is so new. I mean, it's like you can use ChatGPT for like a million different things, and you're right, people are finding ways to make money off it because they're just trying stuff out. And I think that's another fear of, you don't have to have it figured out. And this is where we're moving, isn't it? Because no one knows what the career path is going to look like. They just know, I don't know, this might work or this might not work. And you just gotta... do something?
Experiment, which
Yeah.
is something that I definitely often coach as well in every company
Okay.
that I'm in. It's very important to experiment, try new things, be innovative. Otherwise, as an organization, as a group, as an individual, you're not ever going to be ahead of the curve or ready for changes that are coming. So always experiment.
So tell me a bit more about, you mentioned coaching and you mentioned that you take a very holistic approach to it to be like,
Yes.
well, it's not just a team, but it has to be a change across everyone in the business.
Mm-hmm.
And now you mentioned about creativity and innovation. Yeah. Tell me more. I like to know more about that overall approach, or what matters, or what are you trying to achieve with it?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, and to be fair, I could answer this in a number of different ways, but let me try and be, kind of high level and succinct with this answer. But essentially, what I'm looking to achieve, in terms of getting organizations to think about the way how they work and innovation, experimentation, etc. Not only am I getting people to try to understand and enjoy what they do, and find some sort of intrinsic motivation towards their goals and the outcomes that the company is looking to get and themselves, but also is trying to help organizations to be more effective and efficient in their delivery for ultimately the customer, which again is people, which I care about. So I want the customer to have the best experience, whatever the product is. Yeah, ultimately I want them to be more efficient and think about ways on how to make things better, quicker, cheaper, faster for the customer in any way possible, but also the people that actually they're building it and thinking about it, that they actually just really care and keep the customer in mind, but also keep trying to innovate, keep trying to learn and grow, have those short feedback loops and use that to kind of, to iterate as much as possible.
So what are your like 3 frameworks or tips that you've tried over and over again to get a team to apply these different principles?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's not always repeatable. But I do try and yeah have some core things that I use in every single organization on team, and it tends to kind of work at that core with some adjustments to make it a little more bespoke. But I would say the first thing is just simply, and this always surprises people sometimes, but it's just so easy, just a conversation. Just literally speak to people and bring people with you on that journey. Tell them the what and explain the why, and get them to input into it as well. And that tends to kind of help, kind of to get people to on board with thinking about things in a slightly different way. Because a lot of people are normally resistant to change. They want to keep doing things in the same way that they know. But if you do the same thing over and over again, you're just gonna end up in the same place essentially, and no innovation, no growth. So yeah, that's the first thing. It's a simple conversation, discussion, the what, the why, and all of that jazz. And another thing is once you actually determine that and you have that conversation and you brainstorm with people, just have a session where you actually plan things out. So a lot of people often think in Agile, there's no plan. People just think, oh, we're Agile, we don't need to plan, we don't need to actually think about anything. No, Agile still promotes iterative planning and knowing what you need to do. So you sit down and you have a level of planning and seeing exactly, like without a plan, you can't know where you're going. You need to know where you're going, so you need to have a plan. So yeah, it's funny. It's quite funny that people really do think that being agile means you just have no plan. You do what you want anytime. No, you still need to actually think about what you need to do. So once you determine the what, the why, and get everyone on board, create a plan, and get everybody kind of to feed into that plan as well, and then agree what's realistic. And then part 3 of that execution there is putting some kind of processes in place so people can kind of thrive in their environment to start to build those products or build a backlog, etc. So I know people don't like to go to certain meetings or Scrum ceremonies if they're working in Scrum, but those are there for a reason, and it kind of helps people to have consistent, repeatable sessions that they can actually know it's happening at this time on this day and it's for this purpose, and it makes things very, very simple and clear in your mind, so okay, when am I gonna refine the backlog further? When am I gonna start a new sprint? When am I going to do this, do that? So yeah, those are 3 things. I could name a million more, to be fair, but this will be a 10-hour podcast, so I will keep it there.
No, you raised some really good points, and before I jump into the planning thing, I wanted to pick up on the fact that you said that with the ceremonies, and I like the way you talk about them, because it's not like, if you have the why behind it, and the kind of not consistency, what is it, like, people know what to expect. I think that's a very important part of it.
And the cadence, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's really good. I think people just skip that. I think sometimes you do things just because, I mean, I have a problem with stand-ups. I think they're just not efficient. People just use them for not the right reasons, because they're like, oh, it's a tick box exercise. So I think, how do you change from a tick box exercise to being something meaningful?
And that's a great question. And a stand-up one is such a prevalent one that people often get wrong, because people always, and I've seen Scrum Masters and coaches coach this as well, very, very wrong in my opinion. But they coach it as, people think it's a status update meeting. It's just, you go there and you tell you a status. It's not about a status update. It's about literally coming together as a team and thinking about anything that we can improve, like anything that we can do together today to make things easier and smoother. So are there any issues that we need to address? Let's think about that. And then what's the plan for today? So it's not about just saying, oh, I've done this yesterday, I've done this today. It's not that simple. It's more of a conversation between the people that are building the work, building the products, or doing the work, to kind of have a forum, a regular forum to catch up and have, even if it's a brief discussion, being like, today there's not really anything to add. No issues today. Let's crack on. Let's keep with the plan that we set out at the start of sprint planning. So yeah, people do use the stand-up as literally just a status update, going around the table like, what have we done today? It's not always relevant. You need more impactful and useful discussions in those meetings, and keep it time boxed as well. Some people go over the time and be talking about stuff that's not important for this morning.
Yeah, I have to admit, I've probably been guilty of all these things. But I think it's quite hard, to be honest. You know what the hardest part I found for getting people to have that conversation in a stand-up is, you got to prepare for it.
Yeah.
So the difference is that, rather than it's very easy to come in and just go through your Jira board and just say, because a lot of people don't even think about, what did I do yesterday? Just come a bit prepared. They just kind of like turn up, and then, because it's such a casual flow and it's a status update, it makes it easier for everyone.
Yeah.
If you are going for what are the challenges, you got to be thinking, well, what am I going to ask from these people, or what am I going to raise?
Yeah.
And I think that level, I find it a bit hard to get the whole team bought into being like, no, you gotta prep for this. It's not just a turn up.
And what I normally coach people into doing, what makes that whole prep part a bit easier, is at the end of your working day, have a personal stand-up with yourself. Spend 10 minutes looking at the work that you've done today, updating your tickets or comments on Jira. That way you know exactly what to say tomorrow morning. Is there anything that came out that I may have forgotten? And it's very simple, just 10 minutes at the end of the day, just with yourself, updating your tickets, and you have that in your mind, in your head, ready for tomorrow morning.
Nice. I like that.
Simple.
There's a guy has a book and has a podcast as well called Carl Newport.
Okay.
Talks a lot about things like deep thinking and trying to make time for actually productivity.
Yeah.
But he does say to have a system at the end of the day to kind of close your day.
Yeah.
Because I noticed that, especially now that I'm self-employed, there's just the days, because just with yourself.
Yeah.
So the days just kind of roll, and then it's like, the day doesn't finish for me. Sometimes it's like, if I have something on my mind, and then it's like, oh, I need to send this message, and it's like, there's no closure to the day.
Yeah.
And then it's like, there's no freshness. You don't start fresh the next day. You start already thinking. So he's saying to have that closing thing where you just make sure that whatever was kind of like an operating system, whatever is already running, you go through your applications and you're like, close them, and you're like, cool.
Yes.
Oh, good.
And I do that myself. I practice that myself.
Really?
I call it a wash up.
Okay.
I call it a wash up. So at the end of the day, I have a wash up with myself, and I think about, I'm like, okay, there's so there's some tasks that I didn't complete today, and I'm like, it's on my mind. I need to get it done. But what I do, as you say, I'll close that tab in my mind. I write it down like tomorrow. This is the plan for tomorrow. This is the priority for tomorrow, and then the day's closed. I know what I'm doing. I know what I've done today. I know what I'm doing tomorrow. I'm ready for tomorrow. Closed. Done.
Nice.
Move on.
I really need to
Switch
try
off.
that. I
Yeah.
really need to try that.
It's
To be
important.
honest, I think so. Those like small things, and I think what I like about, your approach, and obviously we've been chatting for ages.
Yeah.
Not in this podcast, just generally we've been chatting for ages. It's the simplicity. Some of the best advice is around people don't have time. Like just generally, you don't have time for like, oh yeah, add this whole routine, wake up at 5 and add 3 hours of stuff. People don't, but impactful small stuff that you can do, I think that's very meaningful. And I don't
100%.
I don't find that many people who have those, it's like, because you must have like a toolkit of like, the backpack of what do you need? Okay, let me find this bite-sized thing just for you.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
It's true. And you're right about a toolkit. I do have a massive toolkit because I've seen so much organization, so much people, so much different backgrounds, personalities. I've seen it all. I'm very experienced in what I do. And I feel like because I focus a lot on the individual and I try to understand people, it's helped me have that toolkit and be able to pull out things and be like, okay, this may work for you. But yeah, what I always kind of try to tell everybody that I meet, and it is a mindset shift, and it's not easy to shift your mindset because it can be weird, but it's always, even in your working life, but also in your personal life, focus on your flow. Flow is very important. It's like I always use the analogy of a motorway. You see a motorway, there's 2 motorways. Say there's one that's really busy, has 1,000 cars on there, but you're all in traffic, no one's moving. I call that just literally people being busy, just busy people, but they're not going anywhere. But then you see a motorway with not as much traffic, but it's flowing. You actually get into your destination, and that is optimum flow. And basically, I'm relating that to your work or your day to day. Do not try and do too much in one day or too much in 1 week or 1 month. And people find it hard because they like to keep busy and be doing stuff, but you need to actually slow down, do less. Because when you do less, you actually end up doing more. Less context switching, more high quality, and you actually end up delivering more instead of just starting a bunch of things. And I always say to everybody, I have a saying: stop starting and start finishing.
Nice.
Because people that start new things all the time and don't actually finish things.
I mean, you told me that a million times.
Exactly.
So I do that.
Exactly.
But this time I'm finishing shit.
There you go.
I am changing.
That's good. Because you end up doing more and you feel better. Because I'm like, you start seeing things in done, you're like, this feels good. But it's a weird concept to kind of accept because most people are used to this like being busy. Like, I got this long list to do. I need to start everything right now. So and it's very important, especially if you're working in sprints as well. The next thing that I like to say, which is, if you're just constantly sprinting, eventually you're going to get out of breath. You need to take a break, take a breather, pause, look back, plan, decide, see if you need to change route, change direction. If you're going to constantly just keep sprinting and not looking at where you're going, not looking at your plan and changing it, adapting, adjusting it as you go along, you're just going to burn out and focus potentially on the wrong things, or potentially miss opportunities. You may miss a road sign there because you're running so fast past something. So yeah, I never analogy there, which I like to use.
I think it makes a lot of sense, and that does kind of bring me back to the planning part. Because maybe continuing your analogy of sprinting. I think, okay, so with Agile, what I've noticed is you have this thing of like, okay, well, we don't need to plan, which is going to be sprinting. Something's going to work, or we're going to constantly adapt. But if you don't stop and be like, what are we adapting for? Towards. The other thing I'm seeing is Agile, like I'm seeing a bit of a discrepancy between business leaders and tech. Because business leaders want to know, what am I going to get from the delivery? Like, what I have a tech team, X amount of people. It costs $1 million a year to run one tech team. So they're like, that's a lot of money. And then people are coming in and be like, doing Agile. We don't need to tell you anything now. We're just going to, you got to trust us that by running, we'll get there faster. So, but obviously you mentioned that that's a massive misconception about not planning. But how do you approach that?
Great question. And It is a huge issue in a number of companies that I've seen that in terms of the business teams and the tech teams, they're just disconnected entirely.
Mm.
And sometimes I've resolved that in a very simple way, and sometimes it's taken a lot more involvement. And I think one of the key fundamental things that need to happen is, you mentioned the word trust, which I was thinking about as you was talking. Um, First of all, the business team need to be able to trust their tech team, but that can be difficult because the business don't understand tech, so they don't know what's actually happening. So what's important for me in every agile situation, or just life in general, you need to always take people with you on the journey. So get the tech guys involved. Don't change your tone. Maybe don't be too techy. Sorry, get the business guys involved. Don't be too techy, obviously. But what I often bring into companies, which strangely it don't happen more, but simply just a demo, just a regular demo or sprint review, but bringing your actual business people into that. Change the tone of your demo to be less techy and more based on your OKRs or your acceptance criteria, etc. And show them what you're doing on a regular basis and explain to them this is what's happening, this is what's potentially left, and that kind of builds trust between you and the business, and they feel a little more safe with their £1 million investment.
Yeah, definitely. And what
Yeah.
about planning? How do you go about planning in Agile?
And that's a great question too. So honestly, I think planning is a continuous thing in Agile. You have to continuously plan, but there's different levels of planning. So what I always do in companies, and I help facilitate usually, and then I hand it over once people are used to it, is I call it can be called a few things. It can be called a BRP, so that's big room planning, or it can be called PI planning and safe, or quarterly planning, whatever. But every 3 months, what I suggest is not individual teams or squads, get the entire department to come together, because there's going to be dependencies, etc. So I get the entire department to come together into one massive room, or same location or hybrid, whatever, but get them to come together, and not only just the department, the tech department, but get the business there too, so they can actually talk about what they want and what they need beforehand at the start. So basically, let me talk about the agenda. So usually I get the business people to come in, and they will actually do some sort of talk or presentation about what was delivered last quarter, just to get people happy about, oh, we've done this, and then talk about what they want for the next quarter, and then we'll all break off into our our breakout rooms, etc. And then we actually plan with the business still there, still in the room, so they can ask questions live about what is going to happen for the next 3 months. So getting your business people involved in the entire plan from beginning to end, again, that helps build trust and keep everything going. But then on top of that, you'll continue that even throughout the quarter. So your backup refinements, your quarterly plannings, your backup refinements, your sprint plannings, and your sprint reviews. You also invite your business stakeholders sometimes to a few of those meetings too, because you'll be planning every single sprint. Yes, you planned it in the big quarterly planning meeting, but you will kind of refine that as you go along based on what happened in the previous sprint. If you're working in sprint styles or in Kanban, the previous iteration, for example. Hopefully that makes sense. That was a very long-winded answer, but that's very high level what I normally do in companies, and I see it make a massive difference to not only building trust, but getting everybody kind of on board with the plan and knowing what needs to happen, and then people kind of not having a misconception of we don't need a plan with Agile.
Yeah, because obviously, it's around, I think, there's not a situation of us and them with the business. Or at least I never really want to see it that way. It's like, because we all want to make money for the business, or we all want to do a really good customer journey, so then customers love us, so then we make money. So it's the same circle everyone wants to achieve.
Exactly.
But it's about trust and control. And I think the more you take the business or you show them, because people are, I'm hoping to believe that people are always like good. They've got always good intentions. Everyone's trying to pull in the same direction. And the other one is, I'm trying to remember now. And they're open to change. That's the other thing. But I think it's just around taking them with you, giving them the chance to be present, to have a voice, to be listened to. And that really kind of goes back to what you were saying at the beginning, that your role is around people.
Yeah.
And a lot of the gaps are not generally about tech.
Yeah.
They're just about communication.
Exactly, which is why I enjoy that side so much. But Another misconception actually I wanted to also touch on is which relates to planning as well, is that often people think because you're working in Agile, you can just change the scope anytime, all the time. People think, oh, we're Agile, we can just break the whole plan tomorrow and just start fresh. Yes, you have some level of flexibility, but in Agile, you still need to have some level of stability, really, because that's why you plan ahead and have a level of stability. Yes, if you need to last minute adjust to a last minute market change, fair enough, but yeah, people think just because you're Agile, you can just, the business will sometime come in and be like, oh, you're Agile, so you can just change everything, the entire plan tomorrow. No, it's not that simple. So yeah, that's another misconception as well I wanted to raise.
Do you have any other ones?
So I've given you 2 so far.
Yeah.
You want a third one?
Yes.
Apparently 3 is a good number. So the third one, a common misconception is people often believe Agile is only for software development teams. This is a massive misconception, but the principles of Agile can be applied to any industry, any way of working, anything really can use it. I've actually seen it started to be used quite heavily now in HR. So HR departments use it, or the people teams, they use it quite often now. And a number of different non-tech or software development industries departments are starting to use Agile and benefiting from it. So yeah, it's a common misconception that like this only works for if you have devs, developers. No, it's not true. The principles are very, very simple. It's all about just keeping things simple, planning, and thinking ahead.
Well, to be fair, Kanban came from manufacturing, so
Exactly.
as repeatable processes, I guess that's what. Well, consistency of delivery and ability to quickly react to changing situations, and then that's what you ultimately want. And it links back to the flow. It's like you want to kind of manage pieces of work in the most efficient way possible,
Yes.
with the right level of flexibility, because so many things in tech are changing so much. So
exactly.
Really interesting.
Talking about things changing in tech, actually.
Yeah.
One thing, to go back to one thing you asked about, tech in the next 10 years, one thing that I actually really want to happen and I really hope happens, hopefully in the next 2 years, ideally, but I would love for there to be an advancement of battery technology. Batteries need to last longer in every tech. I don't understand. I feel like that's been basically one of the slowest improvements I've seen in terms of technology. Whereas yes, batteries are great. We have iPhones which last a day now.
Yes. Woo!
One day. But we used to have Nokia 3310s that lasted for a week. And I know it's different. We now have a mini computer in our hands, literally. But I feel like battery tech needs to advance a little bit and last longer in the same size. Even cars, electric cars, their range are not very long. You have to stop. You can't go from Scotland to London on one charge. You have to, in most cars anyway, most electric cars, you have to charge it at some point a few times, and you have to wait like an hour to charge it. Whereas if you advance that technology, you can get smaller batteries, they'll last longer, or they will charge like in 2 seconds. So yeah, I want to see that in tech. So I don't know who's out there. Elon Musk, forget the robots, sort out batteries first.
It's true. It's a good point, because you had, obviously, memory now has become a lot smaller size, so like
Tiny.
which then enabled AI.
Yes.
Because without having the power to be able to compute so many things so quickly, you wouldn't be able to do it. That was one. But batteries, there was actually a video I saw, I think the other day on TikTok. Anyway, it's a video, and there was this guy who was like, why don't they just build, in your electric car, why don't you just have like an external battery? So you're like, come in, pick a battery, take your battery from your car, put it in another battery, pay however much you need to pay, off you go. So you don't have to wait there until your battery. So I think there's a lot of innovation.
Yeah.
That doesn't really.
It doesn't really happen. Yeah. Somebody needs to have the money to do it and the passion for it, I guess, to do it. But I've seen a reel on Instagram recently about, I'm not sure this was even real, but apparently in Japan, they're thinking about making the streets conductive. So when you drive your electric car, it will automatically charge your car as you're driving.
No way.
Which is crazy.
But it would also use like renewable energy for it as well, or is it still going to be like?
I forgot, but it was Yeah, there was also, they also expanded it to the pavement. So when you walk in it, so when you walk
What,
in
your
pavement,
phone?
not your phone, no. So when you walk in the pavement, that will create electricity that charges stuff. Yeah. So as you
Oh.
walk in, everybody that's walking will create electricity as well. Which is, if that's true, that's incredible.
Well, it makes sense because like energy is created in so many different ways.
Exactly. There's so many things that humans can do. There's so many things right now that are just incredible. Like even if, when you think about something like as simple as the internet's amazing. Like when you think that all of these cloud servers, they're not actually in the cloud. They're connected around the entire world. There's long cables under the sea and the ocean that connects them, and it's actually incredible that we have that around the
Yeah.
entire world and rapid. How? So if we can do
Mm.
if we can do that, there's more we can do. So somebody needs to just invest. And right now, the richest man in the world by very far, Elon Musk, is just playing with toys, robots. So get him to do some real
Get
stuff.
into flow. Get him into flow. It's like
Yeah.
start. What was it? Say it again. It's like
Stop starting and start finishing. That's what I'm saying.
exactly.
Get
He
in.
needs to finish that car with a better battery life.
Exactly. Because if you're gonna spend 45 billion on a social media platform, it tells me, yeah, you just have too much money and you're still rich after that. You're still the richest man in the world after that. That means you're next level. So yeah, man, employ someone to be more innovative as well. I know you're doing great things already, but and you're never gonna see this anyway. But if you do see this,
I mean, that would be something else.
I have ideas.
Something else. It's like you can go in, coach his team,
Yes.
get the best out of his team.
Yes. I don't charge much, Elon. I don't charge much. Literally only $1 million per hour. I'm joking, but no, seriously, post this on X. He might see it. He responds to stuff.
Yeah, I'd be like, we found a problem with your product. You haven't finished it yet, so
Exactly.
you got more work there.
Exactly. If you need an agile coach or product coach,
Yeah.
you know where we at. You know where we at.
Can give you a discount. Can you have both of us
There you
a
go.
discount rate?
Big discount. Yes. Huge discount.
1 million together.
There, exactly. That's $500,000 discount. Come on. It's a no-brainer, Elon. That's like you made that in 1 minute.
How long will it take?
Exactly.
Oh, cool. Okay, well, I think that's a great way, like great CTA, call to action for Elon Musk. But no, honestly, I really enjoyed having you here. Are there any like parting, because I think, if we're closing it very nicely with balance, what is your like parting advice for anyone watching on how to, those small pocket advice on how to bring more balance to their day to day?
Yeah, I keep it simple. I don't want to be too profound. But essentially, my advice would be to just find something you really enjoy doing and try and do it really well. But on top of that, also be able to listen and take in feedback and criticism, and understand ways you can grow and improve. Because yeah, you may think you have things worked out, figured out, but there's always going to be somebody who can maybe show you something in a different way. So be open to that as well, and then just be the best version of yourself at all times and focus on your flow. That's number one. Balance.
Nice. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
If
you.
people want to reach out, what's the best way to do it?
You can find me on LinkedIn. My link will be at the bottom of this post. And yeah, just find me on LinkedIn, reach out to me, send me a DM, not to the PM, but to the AC. And yeah, we'll speak.
Cool. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Take care. Bye.